It was just another ordinary afternoon at a small diner tucked away on the edge of town. The kind of place where the coffee's always hot and the regulars all know each other's names. Behind the counter, working a late lunch shift, was Emily, a kind-hearted waitress in her late 20s with a warm smile and a life that hadn't been easy. She didn't have much, but she was always the first to help someone in need. She wasn't expecting anything extraordinary that day. In fact, she had no idea her world was about to change forever. As the lunch crowd began to thin, a small boy walked in, no older than 10, with tears in his eyes and bruises on his arms. He tried to hide them, but Emily saw right away. She gently knelt beside him and asked if he was okay. At first, he wouldn't speak. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he admitted that a group of older kids had been bullying him right outside the diner. They'd taken his backpack, pushed him to the ground, and laughed while he cried. No one had stepped in, except Emily. Without hesitation, she wiped her hands on her apron, walked outside, and calmly approached the group of teens still hanging around. She didn't yell or make a scene. She simply told them the truth, that what they were doing was wrong, and it needed to stop. Her voice was firm, but kind. They didn't know what to do. No adult had ever called them out like that before. Embarrassed, they backed off, muttering apologies under their breath as they disappeared down the street. Emily brought the boy inside, got him something warm to eat, and even helped patch up his scraped knees. He didn't say much, but the look in his eyes said it all: relief, gratitude, and something else, hope. What Emily didn't know was that someone had seen everything. A man sitting in the corner booth, quiet and unnoticed, had watched the entire scene unfold. He wasn't just any man, he was a billionaire. A tech mogul known for keeping a low profile and for giving back in ways that often made headlines. But this time, he wasn't thinking about charity. He was thinking about the waitress who had done the right thing, even when no one was looking. He stood up, slowly walked toward the counter, and asked for the check. But he wasn't planning to leave a tip. He was about to change her life forever. Emily handed the man his check with a tired but polite smile, not thinking much of him. He looked like any other customer, dressed in a simple coat, quiet, respectful. She had no idea who he really was. "Thank you for coming in," she said, like she did with every guest. He paused for a moment, looking at her closely, almost like he was searching for something behind her eyes. "You're the kind of person this world needs more of," he said gently, before placing a folded bill on the table and walking out the door. She glanced at the money as she cleaned up, only to find a crisp $100 bill and a note scribbled on the back of a napkin. Asterisk, "This is just the beginning." Asterisk confused, Emily tucked it away and returned to work. She'd been through enough in life to know better than to expect anything from a stranger, no matter how kind they seemed. What she didn't see was the man stepping into a sleek black car parked just down the block, giving quiet instructions to his driver. "Find out everything you can about her," he said. "Her story, her past, everything." His name was Daniel Hayes, CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Worth billions, he could buy anything he wanted. But something about Emily had caught him off guard. In a world full of people looking the other way, she'd stepped forward. And she did it not for attention, not for praise, but because it was the right thing to do. Meanwhile, back in the diner, Emily went on with her shift, unaware that her life was now under a microscope. She lived in a tiny one-bedroom apartment above an old hardware store, barely making ends meet. Her father had passed away when she was young, and her mother had worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. Emily had learned early on that kindness was a choice you make every day, even when life doesn't treat you kindly in return. The boy she helped, Liam, had returned home that evening and told his mother everything. She was grateful beyond words and posted about the incident online, a heartfelt message thanking the brave waitress at Main Street Diner who had protected her son when no one else would. The post quickly spread, catching attention far beyond the small town. Emily still didn't know anything about it. She had no idea the internet was starting to buzz with her name. She didn't know that Daniel was watching, or that a quiet storm was building. The kind of storm that could sweep a person out of their old life and into something completely unexpected. 2 days later, Emily was wiping down the counter at the end of a long shift when her manager handed her an envelope. "Someone dropped this off for you," he said, looking as puzzled as she felt. It wasn't marked with a name, just her first name written in careful handwriting. Inside was a handwritten letter and an invitation to a private event at one of the most luxurious hotels in the city. The letter was brief, saying only that someone had taken notice of her compassion and wanted to thank her in person. It felt strange, almost too good to be true. Emily wasn't sure what to make of it. She didn't have a fancy dress, or money for one, and part of her wanted to throw the envelope away and forget the whole thing. But something about it tugged at her curiosity. That evening, she called her best friend Zoe to ask what she should do. Zoe, ever the dreamer, insisted she go. Maybe this is your moment. You never know who's watching." Across town, Daniel Hayes sat in his office, watching video clips that had surfaced online, security footage from nearby stores showing Emily confronting the bullies, the viral post from Liam's mom, and dozens of comments praising the mystery waitress with a kind heart. He hadn't stopped thinking about her since that afternoon. He saw something in Emily that reminded him of his own mother, strong, selfless, and unnoticed by the world. He wanted to offer her something more, not just money, but a chance at a different life. But there were complications. Not everyone in Daniel's circle was pleased with his interest in her. His business partner, Veronica, had already voiced her disapproval. "She's a waitress, Daniel. You can't just throw her into this world and expect it to go smoothly." She worried Emily could be a liability, too honest, too unpolished. But Daniel wasn't backing down. He'd seen how fake people could be, how so many just played the part. Emily was real, and that mattered more than anything. Back at the diner, strange things began happening. A local reporter showed up asking questions. Customers she'd never seen before started coming in, taking photos of their food and glancing her way more than usual. One of them even asked if she was the waitress from the video. Word was spreading faster than she imagined, and Emily felt her quiet world beginning to tilt. But she still didn't know who had sent the letter, or that the moment she stepped into that hotel, everything she thought she knew about her life would begin to change. The night of the event arrived, and Emily stood in front of her tiny apartment mirror, feeling completely out of place. She'd borrowed a dress from Zoe, a simple but elegant thing, and tried to fix her hair as best she could. Her hands trembled a little, nerves tangled with excitement and fear. What was she really walking into? Who exactly was waiting for her? The questions buzzed endlessly in her mind. When she stepped into the Grand Hotel lobby, everything felt surreal. The marble floors, sparkling chandeliers, and well-dressed guests chatting casually as if she belonged there. She clutched the invitation tightly, trying not to let her anxiety show. A kind woman at the reception greeted her by name and directed her toward a private lounge where the guests were gathering. Among the crowd, Emily spotted a few familiar faces from local news and charity circles. She was about to realize that this was no ordinary gathering. Daniel appeared, calm and confident, his presence commanding the room without saying a word. When he approached Emily, his smile was genuine, but his eyes held something deeper, something that made her heart race. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. "You've made an impact, more than you realize." Before she could respond, Veronica stepped forward, her expression cool and calculating. "Emily, you have no idea how much attention you're drawing. This world is very different from the one you know. Are you prepared for what comes next?" Her tone wasn't cruel, but it was firm, almost a warning. Emily swallowed hard, the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. She'd always dreamed of a better life, but never imagined it could happen like this, so suddenly and with so many eyes watching. What if she wasn't ready? What if she failed? The thought of returning to her quiet, simple routine felt safer than this dizzying whirlwind. Outside the hotel, Lyon's family was preparing for a public event that was quickly gaining traction, a fundraiser inspired by Emily's courage. Social media was exploding with support, but also criticism. Some questioned why a billionaire would involve himself in a waitress's life. Others doubted Emily's intentions. The pressure was mounting from every side. Back inside, Daniel handed Emily an envelope. "This is just the beginning," he said again, echoing the words she'd found earlier. But this time, there was an edge to his voice, a challenge, an invitation to step fully into the unknown. Emily opened it slowly, revealing an offer that could change everything: a job, a chance to work alongside Daniel's foundation, a path to financial independence, and something more meaningful. Her heart pounded. Could she trust this opportunity? Was this a genuine chance, or was she being pulled into a world where she might lose herself? As the room buzzed with quiet conversations and curious glances, Emily felt the weight of the moment. The choice before her was bigger than she'd ever imagined, and the consequences unknown. Just as she was about to speak, her phone buzzed. A message from Liam's mom flashed on the screen. Asterisk, be careful. Not everyone wants to see you succeed. Asterisk, suddenly, the night's glamour felt colder, the stakes higher, and the future more uncertain than ever. Emily stared at the message on her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she slipped it back into her pocket. Asterisk, be careful. Not everyone wants to see you succeed. Asterisk, the words echoed in her mind, a sudden chill creeping over the warm atmosphere of the hotel lounge. She looked up at Daniel, who was still watching her with an unreadable expression, and then over to Veronica, whose eyes briefly met hers with a sharp glint that made Emily's stomach twist. Just as Emily was about to ask what the warning meant, the room's lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the crowd. A large screen at the far end of the lounge flickered to life, and a video began to play. At first, it seemed like a highlight reel celebrating the fundraiser and Emily's act of bravery, but then the tone shifted. The video showed clips from security cameras, including footage of Emily confronting the bullies, and then suddenly, an edited segment suggested she might have been the one to provoke the confrontation. Murmurs spread like wildfire through the guests. Some faces turned skeptical, others whispered behind cupped hands. Emily's heart raced as confusion and doubt washed over her. How could this be happening? She knew the truth. She had only stood up for that scared boy. But the video painted a different story. Someone was trying to turn the narrative against her. Daniel stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "We don't believe these manipulated clips. We know the truth." But even his confident words couldn't stop the questions buzzing in the room. Veronica looked more serious than ever, and Emily caught a glimpse of her quietly stepping aside to make a quick call on her phone. Outside the event, the social media storm exploded. The hashtags that had once praised Emily now carried skepticism and criticism. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about a waitress saving a child. It was about controversy, media manipulation, and power struggles. The darker side of fame was revealing itself faster and more aggressively than Emily could have imagined. Back in the hotel, Emily's phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. The message was simple and chilling. Asterisk, walk away now, or you'll regret it. Asterisk, fear and confusion gnawed at her, but so did determination. She had come this far. Turning back wasn't an option. Daniel pulled her aside quietly. "Emily, this is bigger than you or me. Someone is trying to sabotage you, and me. You're caught in something much more complicated." His usual calm was shaken, revealing a rare vulnerability. "We need to be smart. Watch your back." The stakes had escalated overnight. What had started as a simple act of kindness was now tangled in secrets, threats, and unseen enemies. Emily felt the weight of it all pressing down, but deep inside, a fire burned brighter than fear. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was the center of a storm that could change everything, for better or worse. And the question now was, how far was she willing to go? Emily's hands shook as she sat across from Daniel in a quiet corner of the hotel, away from the eyes and whispers. The fabricated video, the threats, it had all been part of a carefully orchestrated plan to derail her. But now, armed with the truth and Daniel's unwavering support, she was ready to face whatever came next. Daniel pulled out his laptop and clicked through a series of files. "We traced the source of the fake footage and the threats," he said quietly. "It wasn't Veronica, but she's been playing her own games behind the scenes. This was someone who wanted to protect their own interests, and they were afraid of what you represent." Emily's eyes widened. "Who?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. Daniel hesitated. "One of our closest allies, a rival in the business world who's been working to undermine my foundation and control the narrative." The weight of the revelation hit Emily hard. Someone so powerful, so close, had tried to tear her down to keep their own secrets safe. But Daniel wasn't done. "We have enough evidence now to expose everything, both the lies about you and the corruption behind the scenes. But we need to be smart. The public has to see the truth on their own terms." Emily nodded, determination settling in her chest. Together, they prepared a live announcement, ready to share the full story behind the smear campaign and to reveal the faces trying to manipulate the truth. The event was broadcast to millions. Daniel spoke with calm authority, laying out the facts and shining a light on the darkness that had threatened Emily's life and reputation. Then, Emily stood up, voice steady but filled with raw emotion. She told her story, not just about the bullying incident, but about her struggles, her hopes, and her belief in standing up for what's right. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Support poured in from all corners, and the tide quickly turned. The fake news was exposed, the threats were taken seriously by authorities, and Emily's name became synonymous with courage and resilience. Just as it seemed the storm was finally clearing, a surprising message arrived, this time from Veronica. But it wasn't another threat. It was an apology, along with a confession. She admitted to underestimating Emily and Daniel, and revealed that she had secretly been gathering evidence against the true villain, working behind the scenes to protect the foundation. Emily was stunned. The woman who had seemed like an enemy had actually been an unexpected ally all along. As the night ended, Emily stood by the window of her new office at the foundation, watching the city lights flicker. Her life had changed in ways she never dreamed possible, but she knew the road ahead would still be full of challenges. What mattered most was that she was no longer alone. And just when she thought she'd finally breathe, her phone buzzed again. A message flashed on the screen. Asterisk, this is only the beginning. Asterisk, Emily stared at the message on her phone, a slow smile spreading across her face. Asterisk, this is only the beginning. Asterisk, it wasn't a threat anymore. It was a challenge, a reminder that her journey was far from over. But this time, she felt ready. The days that followed were a whirlwind. The Foundation's work expanded rapidly, with Emily now a vital part of its mission to help those who felt invisible and unheard, just like she once did. Her voice, once quiet and reserved, carried the weight of real experience and genuine kindness. People listened, doors opened. What had started as a simple act of standing up for a bullied child had transformed